Jennifer Smith, a 30-year-old single mother, was on a flight from Chicago to Boston with her 5-year-old son, Matthew. They had recently visited her ailing grandfather in Chicago. Jennifer worked as a waitress during the day and as a virtual customer service representative at night to support her family. The trip was important, but it cost more than they could afford. Now their emergency fund is gone, and Sophia only has $43 left, which needs to last until her next paycheck. In the seat ahead of them is Richard Matthews, an elderly man who has Alzheimer's. He seems confused and struggles with simple tasks. His son, Michael, a successful businessman in his 40s, is supposed to meet him at the airport. As the flight continues, Sophia watches Richard and thinks about her own grandfather, who is also struggling with memory loss. She feels the weight of her financial struggles but also the need to be there for her family. As the flight continues, Sophia notices Richard, the elderly man sitting in front of her, struggling to get his carry-on bag from the overhead compartment. His hands shake and he looks confused. Just as she's about to stand up to help him, she sees something fall from his pocket, a leather money bag. It hits the floor softly and rolls to a stop in the aisle. Sophia quickly leans down and picks it up. Her heart races as she feels the weight of the money bag in her hands. She opens it just a little, enough to see several $100 bills neatly stacked inside. Her breath catches in her throat. The money inside could be worth thousands of dollars. Sophia feels a rush of emotions. The money could solve so many of her problems. She could pay the overdue rent, take care of Ethan's dental work, and clear up some of the mounting debts that she's been struggling to pay. For once, she wouldn't have to worry about where the next meal or bill payment is coming from. But then she looks at Richard, still trying to get his bag down, and feels a wave of guilt. He's clearly confused, and it's obvious he doesn't remember losing his money bag. The temptation to keep the money is strong, but Sophia knows it's not right. She thinks about how she would feel if someone took advantage of her own grandfather, who also suffers from memory loss. Sophia's mind races as she tries to decide what to do. She could take the money now and solve her problems, but that wouldn't make her proud. Returning it to Richard feels like the right thing to do, but it would mean continuing to struggle. The choice feels impossible. The money bag feels heavy in Sophia's bag, and the weight of it makes her stomach churn. She can't stop thinking about what she found inside. Several $100 bills, more money than she's had in months. Every time she reaches into her bag, she feels it, a constant reminder of the choice she has to make. Sophia tries to ignore the guilt that keeps growing inside her. She tells herself she'll think about it after the flight, that maybe she just needs to focus on getting through the day. But it's hard to push the thoughts away. The money could solve so many of their problems. She could pay the overdue rent, finally get Ethan's dental work done, and maybe even buy him the new clothes he needs for the winter. The bills that have been piling up could be taken care of, and for the first time in a long while, she wouldn't have to worry about how to pay the next one. The thought of having a break from constant stress makes her heart race. She thinks about the nights she spent lying awake, wondering how she's going to make ends meet. This money could give them relief. It could make things easier. But as she sits there, she can't stop thinking about Richard. He doesn't even know his money is missing. His confusion reminds her of her grandfather, who also struggles with his memory. She knows how important it is to be honest, to do what's right even when it's hard. Taking the money feels wrong, but the pressure of her own financial struggles makes it hard to let go of the temptation. Just as she's about to make up her mind, Ethan's small voice interrupts her thoughts. "Mommy, are we there yet?" he asks, his eyes still heavy with sleep. Sophia smiles at him, grateful for the distraction. Her son's innocent question pulls her away from her internal battle. As she looks at Ethan, she feels the weight of their situation again. They don't have enough for their immediate needs, and the money could solve so much. But then Sophia looks at Ethan and remembers why she's doing this. He's the reason she has to stay true to her values. The choice is harder than ever, but she knows she has to do what's best for him, even if it's not the easy option. After the plane lands and the passengers start deplaning, Sophia notices Richard looking around, his face full of distress. He's patting his pockets, checking each one as if looking for something important. He becomes more anxious as he checks his pockets again, and it quickly becomes clear to Sophia that his money bag is missing. Richard's hands shake slightly, and his eyes look lost as though he can't quite remember where he put it. He's standing alone now, and Sophia can see how confused he is. The sight makes her stomach tighten with guilt. She knows exactly where the money bag is. It's still in her bag. Seeing Richard in this state reminds her of her own grandfather, who suffers from memory loss. Her grandfather sometimes forgets where he puts things, and it scares her. She knows how vulnerable someone in Richard's position can be, and it makes her feel even worse about taking the money. Sophia watches Richard as he continues to look around, his anxiety growing. She feels torn. She wants to help him, but she's also struggling with the temptation to keep the money. Richard seems so lost, so unsure of what's happening, and it's clear he doesn't even remember that he lost his money bag. As she stands there, feeling trapped between her guilt and the temptation of the money, Ethan tugs at her sleeve. "Mommy, can we help the man?" he asks, looking up at her with his big, innocent eyes. Sophia's heart aches as she hears her son's question. Ethan's kindness pulls at her heart, making the situation even more difficult. He doesn't understand the struggle inside her. All he wants to do is help someone who's clearly in need. Sophia looks at Richard, still searching for his missing money bag, and feels a deep sense of guilt. Her son's question reminds her of the importance of doing the right thing, even when it's hard. Helping Richard would be the right thing, but the temptation to keep the money weighs heavily on her. She takes a deep breath, trying to gather her thoughts. Ethan is waiting for her to make a decision, and she knows she can't ignore what's right for much longer. Sophia stands frozen, feeling the heavy weight of the money bag in her bag. The temptation to keep it is overwhelming. The money could solve so many of her problems. She could pay the overdue rent, take care of Ethan's dental work, and finally get ahead. The thought of not having to worry about the bills for once is so tempting. She could finally breathe a little easier. But then her thoughts go to Richard. He's clearly confused and doesn't remember losing his money bag. Taking the money feels wrong, especially after seeing how vulnerable he is. She knows she should return it, but the pressure of her financial struggles makes the decision so much harder. Just as she's about to make up her mind, a loud evacuation alarm suddenly blares through the terminal. The sound is sharp and urgent, making the whole crowd jump into action. People begin rushing toward the exits, pushing and shoving as the alarm continues to blare. Sophia feels her heart race as she looks around in panic. She can barely hear anything over the noise, and she suddenly realizes that Ethan isn't beside her anymore. Her heart stops as she spins around, looking through the crowd. Where is he? Her mind goes blank with fear as she frantically searches, calling out his name, but the chaos is overwhelming. Everyone is in a hurry to leave, and it feels like the whole world is moving too fast. Her legs move automatically as she pushes through the crowd, but there's no sign of Ethan. The money bag, which just moments ago felt so important, is forgotten in the panic. Her only focus is finding Ethan. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, she spots him. He's standing near a wall, looking scared but safe. Sophia runs to him, relief flooding through her as she scoops him into her arms. "Mommy," Ethan says softly, his small hands clutching her tightly. Sophia holds him close, feeling his warmth and safety. In that moment, the money bag no longer matters. The things that once seemed so important, paying bills, solving her problems, are nothing compared to Ethan's safety. She realizes that no amount of money could ever replace her son. The temptation to keep the money bag vanishes completely, and she knows that her choice was clear all along. Her son's well-being is all that matters. Sophia holds Ethan tight, feeling the weight of the relief wash over her. As she looks around, she sees a familiar face, Michael, Richard's son. He's hurrying toward them, his face full of concern. "Dad. Thank God you're okay," Michael says, rushing up to Richard and helping him sit down. He turns to Sophia with a grateful look. "Thank you for finding him. I've been looking everywhere for him." Sophia's heart swells with gratitude, feeling the weight of the moment. "I'm just glad he's safe," she says, giving Ethan a reassuring squeeze. Michael smiles at her, his eyes warm with appreciation. "You have no idea how much this means to me. My father is really struggling with his memory, and I'm always worried he'll get lost." After a moment, Michael continues, his voice softer. "I also wanted to thank you for what you did earlier, returning the money bag. My father insists on carrying cash everywhere, even though it's not safe with his condition. It's not the easiest situation, but you still did the right thing." Sophia looks at Michael, feeling the weight of his words. She's grateful that he understands the challenge of caring for someone with memory loss. Michael gives her a small, grateful smile before his expression turns thoughtful. "You know," he says, "after everything you've done, I'd love to invite you to dinner. It's the least I can do for you." Sophia hesitates for a moment but then nods. She knows she needs to accept the kindness Michael is offering, if only for a brief moment of peace. Later that evening, they meet for dinner at a cozy restaurant. As they sit down, Michael asks Sophia more about her life. She tells him about her 2 jobs, the constant worry about money, and how hard it's been to make sure Ethan has everything he needs. Michael listens intently, his concern obvious. After a while, he leans forward and says, "Sophia, I can see how hard you've been working to provide for your son. I think I might be able to help. My firm is looking for an office manager. It's regular hours and the pay is much better than what you're doing now. Would you be interested?" Sophia's heart skips a beat. It's the kind of opportunity she's dreamed of, but she never imagined it would come this way. She feels a mixture of hope and disbelief. "You'd offer me a job?" she asks, still processing what Michael just said. Michael nods. "Absolutely. You've shown me that you've got the kind of character we need. Plus, you deserve a break." Sophia smiles, feeling a glimmer of hope for the first time in a long while. This moment could be the start of something new for her and Ethan, and it feels like everything is finally beginning to turn around. The next morning, Sophia is still trying to process everything that happened the day before. As she's about to leave for work, she gets a surprising phone call from Richard. His voice is shaky, but there's a warmth to it. "Sophia," he says, "I've booked 3 tickets to Chicago. I heard your grandfather is in critical condition. You should be with him." Sophia is stunned. She never expected this kind of help from Richard, especially given his memory struggles. She's silent for a moment, trying to understand what's happening. You did that for me?" she asks, her voice filled with disbelief. "Yes," Richard replies, sounding firm despite his condition. "Family matters, and I know you should be there for yours." Sophia feels tears welling up in her eyes. Richard, despite his own difficulties, has done something incredibly kind and generous. His gesture means more than words can express. Michael, who's been listening in the background, steps in. "Sophia, please take the time you need," he says, his voice gentle. "I've already told the team about the situation. The job will still be here when you get back. Focus on your family." Sophia is overwhelmed with gratitude. She never imagined that things could turn out this way. Richard's kindness, combined with Michael's support, has given her hope when she needed it most. She thanks them both, feeling an enormous weight lift off her shoulders. Before they hang up, Michael offers her his business card. "Call me when you return," he says. "Take your time, but I'll be here when you're ready. We'll take care of everything while you're gone." Sophia nods, feeling both thankful and emotional. She knows this unexpected kindness will change everything for her and Ethan. As they prepare to leave for the airport, Richard surprises Sophia once again. He gently pats Ethan on the head, showing kindness and warmth toward the little boy. Despite his own struggles, Richard takes a moment to connect with Ethan, making Sophia feel grateful for the support. Michael, too, continues to be there for her. He helps with the luggage and reassures Sophia that everything will be okay, offering a sense of calm in the middle of the chaos. At the airport, the small family, Sophia, Ethan, Richard, and Michael, forms an unlikely bond. In the face of their struggles, they lean on each other for support. Michael's kindness and understanding towards Sophia make her feel less alone in the world. Even though their circumstances are different, they share a sense of compassion that brings them closer together. During their time in Chicago, Richard and Michael offer more than just financial help. They provide emotional support, helping Sophia navigate through the tough time with her grandfather's condition. Michael, in particular, is a steady presence, offering Sophia the space she needs while still being there when she needs him. His care and thoughtfulness make Sophia feel supported in ways she never imagined. As time goes on, Sophia begins to notice how much Michael admires her. He sees her for who she truly is, a loving mother who's willing to sacrifice everything for her son. He admires her strength and resilience, especially when she resisted the temptation of keeping the money. He recognizes the goodness in her heart, and it deepens their connection. Sophia starts to realize that despite all the hardships she's faced, this unexpected bond with Michael and Richard might be the start of something beautiful. She feels like she's finally found people who truly understand and support her. Back in Boston, things begin to change for Sophia and Ethan. Sophia starts her new job at Michael's firm, and the work is more fulfilling than anything she's done before. The salary is much better than her previous jobs, and it brings a sense of stability to their lives. For the first time in a long while, Sophia doesn't have to worry about how to pay the bills. She can focus on providing a better life for Ethan. Their apartment feels more like a home now, and there's a new sense of peace in their daily life. Michael continues to support Sophia, and their relationship begins to grow stronger. They start talking about their future together. The connection between them is undeniable, and Sophia feels a warmth and hope she hadn't felt in years. Michael has shown her kindness and understanding, and she finds herself opening up to him more and more. They share stories about their lives, their dreams, and their struggles, finding common ground in the most unexpected ways. One evening, Michael surprises Sophia with a small box. Inside is a pendant in the shape of a money bag, a symbol of the moral clarity that led them both to where they are now. Michael tells her that he wanted to give her something to remind her of that moment when she chose to do the right thing, even when it wasn't easy. It's a small but meaningful gift that represents everything Sophia has been through and how far she has come. As Sophia holds the pendant in her hand, she feels a deep sense of gratitude for the unexpected path her life has taken. With Michael's support, her new job, and a fresh start, she feels ready for whatever the future holds.